Hi everyone, now I'm going to show you this here. What this is actually natural white peacock. Now basically I bought this many years ago off eBay, and I mean you can still get it. It comes from China. Now it's a great fibre. Peacock Herl in itself is absolutely brilliant, but if you can get this here, now it's actually very good for dyeing. It's good in itself. Now I dye it quite a few colours. Colour it does well for certain flies that I like. So this is basically a blue dun. This is dyed using Venier's blue dun dye. Now it makes, as I say, the Herl itself doesn't have that greeny hue off it that you get with a normal peacock, but you get great colours because it's white, pure white. It dyes really well. So you get a great body. Now after dyeing it, what I normally do is remove the herl and basically tie it in at the base. Just a one with the thread, wet finish, and I keep a hold of it. It's much easier than these long, what do you call it, stems there lying in a packet, so it's much easier to store. So anyway, I'm going to show you a fly. Now this fly here is one of the flies I tie with it. Now I'm going to zoom in a wee bit so you can see it better. Come in to it, there we are, and this is the fly here. You can see it's on the body. Now it works a treat, it really does. And if you're looking for an early season emerger, sort of pattern for duns and olives coming off, this is a good one. Now if you don't, obviously if you haven't got the fibre, just use what you have. You can either use the thread itself or use just a fine dubbing. Turkey bite's good, but good in the body, or so on. You obviously use something else. You can try and find that. I mean, because it is worth the effort, and it's great dyed in a few colours. And this blue dun, I tie it as a midge pattern I've dyed, and it works a treat because it's so fine. It's really fine. Anyway, the hook is this one. This is a full and mill hook. I love these hooks. Czech Nymph hooks. This style of hook for the merger patterns is absolutely brilliant. But this is the sort of medium wire. They do a heavy wire version, so obviously for emergers you're better with the medium wire. So it's this one here. If you do use a heavier one, you've got a bit more of a wing on it to keep it up, and it will work. I mean, I've done it. So anyway, it's the code for this one. This is the bronze version. There's a black nickel, and you can see this is a size 16 in this version anyway. Now it is kind of quite a big hook for a 16. I don't look at it as a standard. I just look at it in that style of hook. Now, thread I'm going to be using is a rusty dun. It's a nice kind of grey colour. It's ideal for this fly. Now I've got an old piece of wax here. I'm just going to sit on my finger. It's a bit dirty, but it's still good enough to wax the thread. Now to put it in my finger, I just hold it with my thumb and it will stick. Then I usually take a length off, run it through, and then there we are, that's it, wax, ready to go. So basically start at the eye. Now with this fly, is going to be more body than thorax, meaning like 3/4 of the area I'm going to be tying on is the body, and obviously 1/4 is the wing and a bit of the thorax. So at this point, I'm going to, in the way down, I'm actually going to tie in an extra small silver wire just to protect it. Now you could use the thread. I've used waste piece of the thread to do that. It will work, but I like to see the silver rib in this. It seemed to work. Well, it does work. So we take it round. We get a dyed blue dun peacock. I'm looking for a couple of strands. Now what I'm going to do is tie it in close to the tips, but I'm going to line them up first. Scratch this on, and just work your way up. As I say, it's a good way up. You don't normally, if I was stopping with an emerger, it'd be really in line, or just this angle would be a third of the body would be the thorax, but in this case it's less, because I do want more body and more of the wing, as they say. Now I'm winding the Peacock Herl towards myself, all the way up to this point. Now to tie it off, you must go over it with a turn and a turn on the hook. Do the same again. Now that'll lock it in, and hold there until you actually, I'll try my way the waist, rib it. And the rib's going to protect it. So we do a turn at the back, that protects the back of the body, the beginning of it, and then you're looking, there's 3, 4, 5 turns. Just follow it up with the thread, but a bend into the wire. Secure it in, make sure it's not going to move, and then keeping the thread tight, bend and break away the wire. Just going to wax my thread again. You can see the body you get, pretty amazing, really, really good. As I say, there's a good midge pattern, there's dowel backs I've tied with this, there's lots of things I've tied with it, and I've dyed it a few different colours, so it's basically up to your imagination. Now the underwing of this is I'm going to be using a roe deer. This is just a roe deer here. It's got a bit of colour in it, so just enough for the wing, just the underwing. It's a support for the wing and the CDC. Now twist your fingers with it when you're holding the tips, just remove any broken ends or any underfur, because you're going to stack it. So tips first into the stacker, tap it on your desk, should be enough. You see the tips have lined up, take it away from the stacker, and then when you tie it on, now I want it at least by the, if you look at where it's coming over the back of the body, just by the back of the body. I want it to be right on the top, I want it to really sit up, because I want to give more like a dun-like wing on this fly. So the underwing's in my finger and thumb. Trim away what you don't need. Show your threads waxed. Come in, just going to catch it. I'm going to try and keep my fingers out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. And there's the cut ends, you can see. Now I'm going to take the thread turns through the cut ends. Now give yourself, I'm just drawing this sort of slightly back, make sure you've got a good couple of mil there for tying in the CDC at the wing and a wee bit of dubbing. Now I just leave it at that. Now to put, what I'm going to be using here, this is mask dubbing, or Hare's mask, which I have basically taken off the mask, blended it in a small blender that I have, well basically a coffee grinder. Now the reason I like it is it's got a nice strong guard here, so I'm going to lightly cut the corner off. You can see the packet. I mean it's a good way to pull the dubbing out, and the way you pull it out that it's easy. Now you're going to see what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to tap it onto my thread just to show you how easy it is to dub. You can see it's lying on my thread. Now finger and thumb's right at the base. Now as you can see the thread turns are right up, the dubbing's right up at where the thread's touching the hook. Now all I'm going to do is twist down the bottom here. I don't know if you can see that. And just twist. And then as I twist I kind of wind through the cut ends of the deer here. But what's going to happen is the guard here is going to spring out. Give it a bit of leg, a bit of life. Now when you're happy with the amount that's on there, take away the excess. I'm just going to bring the thread through it, stroke back. The fibres that's going forward, just then hold them back. Now, did that get a job? I can't get the, there we are, it's dubbing away. A bit of wax on my thread. Now we're ready to tie in the CDC, but you can see how well that blends into the wing. It gives it life. That's why I look at it. It's just more life into your fly than being too tight. Now I've got some small CDC, natural CDC. Now I'm wanting 3 feathers. This is small to medium. This is CDC from a mallard duck. And all I'm going to do here is, there's a natural curve in these feathers, so I'm just going to lay it on top of one another. I want a natural curve like this. So that would be the front of the feather. Just line up the ends, you can see. Now, there's 3 there just because of the size of the fly, and the smaller flies you could go less. Now I'm going to, the length of the wing, you want it towards the end of the tips of the deer hair. So I'm going to basically hold these tips and draw back what I don't need. I'm going to be using this fibre here for dubbing, so just draw that back. Make sure these are lined up. There's the wing you want. Just basically pinch it tight and then pinch and loop a couple of times, 2 or 3 turns. Just going to look at the length of the wing, sitting up the way I want. It's perfect, that's the way I want it. And then trim away. Now these are the feathers here, the remains. I'm going to use the waist as the dubbing in front. I'm not going to let it go to waste, I want that. So basically I just trim it away and lay it on my desk. So it's much easier to trim it and it will not disappear so fine. Now that's both sides done. Now I'm going to lightly lift this up. Now before I do anything, I'm going to make sure this is tied in. So take my thread down into the cut ends and bring it back up towards the wing. There's the dubbing. I'm going to do the same as what I did with the Hare's mask dubbing. Just lay it onto the thread. And then as long as it's close to the, or touching the hook, you can lightly twist at the bottom. And you see how it'll run round it, just gathers up. I don't know if you can see that, but it gathers up round the thread. And then it's just a matter of winding it on till you get enough dubbing. Take away what you don't need. Again, take away the excess. Now, because it's quite loose, you can actually bring the thread through towards the eye and stroke back these fibres. And make sure there's some thread turns in front. Just leave that dubbing still on the thread. And there we go. This is I'd basically call these all-rounders. They could give the impression of a few flies, caddis, olives, midge, especially when they're hatching. That's what I'm saying, it's just a good pattern, a good style. Now what I'm going to do here, just put some varnish on my thread. And let finish. Just hold back the dubbing. Of the CDC. And you see the life you get if you manage it. If you don't tighten it up too much, you get a really nice fly. There's lots of patterns that I do this way, this type of style of fly. You get a lovely wing, very dun-like wing. If you imagine if that is a tail, but this is more like the emerger. It just works. There's times you want that in the body. You want that to give the impression of the fly hatching, and the fish do clock onto that. It's got a nice light presentation that presents itself well in the water. So there we are. Hope you enjoyed that. It's a great fly. Give it a go. As I say, the body, you don't have to use the Herl. I thought I'd show you it. You could use a bit of fine dubbing, a nice dry fly dubbing, or you could use like a turkey bite or something like that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time.